Of all the subgenres within alternate cinema, there is none more prevalent than the humble slasher. The simple story of a murderous antagonist who preys upon an unsuspecting group. Potentially starring the modern age of horror, as the majority of previous alternate pictures revolved around folklore monsters and science fiction. First coming into prominence in the 1970s, by a decade later, the subgenre exploded into society and the formula, although cliched, became a fan favorite. Responsible for the genesis of a vast amount of horror icons and still creating new ones to this day, there have been many examples of outstanding pictures, and today, it's time to list what I believe to be the very best. So join me as I count down the top 10 slasher movies. For this list, I'll be ranking the greatest slasher movies of all time. Joining me this week, it's with great pleasure to welcome back theNewBee.
Thanks for having me, Demented Pictures. Why do we love slashers? Because there's something very wrong with us? Maybe, but I don't want to be right. The slasher is an adrenaline rush, an exhilarating experience for the viewers. Slashers tap into the primal fears and provide a safe outlet for those intense emotions on date nights.
The rules: only one entry per franchise, no cross genres. For example, Saw, Hellraiser, Hostel. We're sticking to pure slashers. So let's begin.
Number 10. Starting this list, we go back to the picture that began the Giallo movement. Premiering in 1964, Blood and Black Lace is also one of the more obscure pictures to American audiences. Directed by Mario Bava, the story tells of an Italian fashion house with a dark secret. Following the murder of one of its models, sees the remaining cast become prey to a mysterious killer. Also one of the first examples of a masked antagonist, Blood and Black Lace sadly remains a lesser-known picture, but is still unquestionably one of the greatest of the genre.
I was recently introduced to this movie, and it's stunning. It's plain to see the writers saw Friday the 13th and said, yes, more please. There's something almost quaint about older movies like these where they take more care and effort in their production. The atmospheric and stylish cinematography influenced the giallo genre. The kills aren't just quick slashy murders that come with a cheap jump scare or an audio sting. It was a slasher before slashers were a thing, right down to the mask-wearing villain. But if this isn't your type of movie, remember, there's always room for giallo.
Number 9. It's easily forgotten that in the beginning, Chucky was not a comedic character. First appearing in Child's Play, where serial killer Charles Lee Ray transfers his soul to a good guy's play doll. Despite later installments focusing on dark humor and novelty deaths, the original incarnation was much more savage, disturbing, and suspenseful, making for a truly terrifying cinematic experience. Succeeded by several sequels, a reboot, and its own TV series, Chucky and the Child's Play franchise has since entered the modern social zeitgeist and emerged a true horror icon.
Before Megan, before Annabelle, before Barbie, there was Chucky. Not the first killer doll, but Chucky became a horror icon to fans all over the world. The early Child's Play movies were a little more serious and menacing, but like Freddy, Chucky managed to find more lighthearted ways to murder. Chucky evolved to find love, have a family, and become a cult figure. I love Mark Hamill, but Brad Dourif is the GOAT. There's nothing really wrong with the recent remake, but I do prefer Chucky as a supernatural voodoo monster rather than a computerized doll set to evil.
Number 8. Amidst the boom of the early 80s slashers, The Burning is a picture that should have stood tall, but sadly was overcast by many of its peers. One of the original pictures to create the summer camp cliché, following a prank gone wrong on the caretaker, sees the victim Cropsey burned alive only to return and seek vengeance on the tricksters. Inspiring a slew of slashers that unashamedly borrow several themes, The Burning is truly deserving of greater attention, and Cropsey being an unsung slasher icon.
Before recently, I have never heard of this one. One of the first slashers. The killer, Cropsey, burned in a prank gone wrong, is disfigured and seeks revenge on the campers by becoming a homicidal maniac. Like you do. A disfigured killer in a summer camp? Makeup by Tom Savini, so you know it's gory. Jason has a machete, Freddy has his blades, but this guy has hedge clippers. It fits the killer summer camp genre so well, this may as well be another Friday the 13th. It's still recognized for its contribution to the genre by reinforcing a lot of the tropes.
Number 7. Possibly the greatest example of giallo cinema, Deep Red is also one of the most influential pictures, both to the slasher genre and to cinema in general. Directed by the legendary Dario Argento, the picture follows the classic whodunit formula but with a highly stylized slasher facade. Heralded by many critics as a masterpiece of cinema, Deep Red also serves as the inspiration to many successful horror directors, making it one of the most important pictures in alternate cinema.
In this movie, a psychic is murdered. How did the psychic not see that coming? Dario Argento created a stylish, bloody whodunit, with trippy cinematography, inventive camera work, and a haunting score by Goblin. I especially like the scene where somebody is killed with a really well-made necklace. Graphic deaths, a killer soundtrack, and a killer robot doll, yeah, a robot, makes this one stand out as an atmospheric and visually striking film.
Number 6. Often cited as the granddaddy of extreme cinema, Tobe Hooper's The Texas Chainsaw Massacre is also one of the most intense of slashers. Loosely based on the exploits of the Plainfield killer Ed Gein, the simple tale of a cannibalistic family who slaughter a group of teens who unwittingly stumble into their home. Shocking the world in 1974, the character of Leatherface would become one of the first icons of the modern age of horror. Still praised to this day, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre is recognized as one of the most intense and unsettling horror features of all time.
So, are we talking about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Texas Chainsaw, or Texas Chainsaw Massacre? So few movies are as visceral and disturbing as the original, loaded with such memorable, shocking imagery. Some scenes are still burned into my mind. Every frame is gritty, sweaty, you feel uncomfortable through the whole thing. And you'd think a victim in a wheelchair was off limits, but nope. Meals on wheels.
Number 5. Using the one per franchise rule, there is no greater example of the Crystal Lake Killer than Friday the 13th, the final chapter. In this 4th installment, we see the fully established and now iconic version of Jason Voorhees, and also introducing Tommy Jarvis, who would become the series' main protagonist. Showcasing Jason at his cathartic best, the movie follows every cliché in the book, but delivers them in arguably their most enjoyable, gory, and sleazy, making the final chapter the pinnacle of the series.
Not since The Never-Ending Story has a movie title been so misleading. It was originally supposed to end the series as a trilogy, despite being the 4th movie. But 3rd with Jason, so potato potato. Killing off Jason was sure to end the series, but I was a little sad to see Jason go, and boy, he went out like a beast. Continuing the franchise the following year with a new killer behind the same mask just didn't work for me. Jason Voorhees is Friday the 13th, except no substitutes.
Number 4. Possibly the first example of what would become the subgenre. Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho is undoubtedly the most important of the niche. The cinematic adaptation of Robert Bloch's story about a demented mama's boy with a thirst for blood, the movie explored themes never before seen in cinema. Again based on Ed Gein, and hosted what may be the most famous kill in cinema history, Psycho is not only a praised alternate picture, but heralded as one of the all-time Hollywood greats.
Real-life serial killer Ed Gein is the gift to horror cinema that just kept giving. Hitchcock wasn't the master of suspense for nothing. Norman Bates was such a likable character at first, and when the truth is revealed, it's both betraying and saddening. Psycho might appear tame by modern standards with their more horrific methods and high body counts, but Psycho was also the first, breaking new ground and igniting audience tastes for blood. In this case, Hershey syrup. The movie is so finely crafted, shot, edited, and directed, it's amazing that a shot-for-shot remake would turn out so god-awful.
Number 3. Perhaps a controversial addition, Using the only one per franchise rule, A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3 Dream Warriors is what I believe to be the pinnacle of the series. Showcasing the legendary Freddy Krueger in his savagely creative best and fully establishing the dark humor now associated with the character. The movie could almost be described as a dark superhero picture, seeing Krueger take on a group of teens who harness superpowers in their dreams. Dark, twisted, and hilariously morbid, Dream Warrior stands as the perfect example of everything that makes the fans love the Springwood slasher.
This is where the Freddy we know and love really started to emerge. This is where Freddy's one-liners really started to shine and became a staple of every movie. It also featured the return of Nancy for their epic final showdown. So many scenes stayed with me since my first viewing. The TV, welcome to prime time, bitch. The puppet with the tendons and strings. Ugh. I also like the change up with Freddy facing a group of victims who were able to fight back in his world with lucid dreaming. I only wish they were able to fight back a little longer. I can only dream.
Number 2. Possibly the movie that set the standards for all future slashers. John Carpenter's Halloween is possibly the most iconic of the genre. Telling the story of Laurie Strode, a virginal college girl who finds herself prey to the urban legend that is Michael Myers. Catching cinemagoers off guard in 1978, the picture was able to earn immediate respects from fans and critics alike. Still going strong almost 50 years later, Halloween may just be the most important entry in the slasher genre. There is one, however, that might just be the perfect example.
Let's see, Halloween, and Halloween.
You did that bit already.
Black Christmas may have started the killer stalking co-ed concept, but Halloween perfected it. It had a simplicity that just let us focus on the terror. Michael, or the Shape if you're nasty, was a mystery, an unstoppable inhuman monster, minimal backstory, just a sheer force of evil. I really liked that the 2018 sequel disregarded the original timeline sequels after Halloween 2, and becoming a well-constructed vehicle to showcase the endgame between Laurie, Strode, and Michael. And this way, Ben Tramer still dies.
Before we get to number 1, please consider becoming a producer by signing up as a channel member by clicking the join button, or become a patron. Links in the description box below. Also, if you enjoyed the Minute Top 10s, show your appreciation by hitting the thumbs up button, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to keep up with the channel. Number 1. Before hitting dislike, hear me out. Of the many contenders for the number 1 spot, how many tick every box to be crowned supreme? Not only that, but deliver so much more. Scream being the perfect example. Taking everything that makes the genre so beloved, director Wes Craven was able to combine every cliché and trope, yet deliver them not as a parody, but as a love letter to the genre. Supported by an outstanding script, perfect pacing, and an immediately iconic antagonist, early opinions were that this was to be an instant classic. Standing the test of time and still going strong to this day, Scream has surpassed all expectations to become what I believe to be the ultimate slasher movie.
So are we doing Scream or Scream?
Stop that!
Child's Play, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Halloween. Stop using the same exact names in a franchise, Hollywood.
Focus!
I always call this one lightning in a bottle. A genius meta-commentary on the slasher genre, letting us in on the joke with its self-references. It's formulaic, of course, but it subverts that formula into something new and fresh. It introduced the rules of every slasher and managed to break them at the same time. It was fun, clever, and really kept you guessing with endless red herrings. But as soon as Scream became a franchise, they started becoming the very thing they poked fun of. The original is still one of my favorite slashers because it's not asking me to ignore the tropes, but celebrate them.
So there was my list. Were there any I missed? Which are your favorite slasher movies? Leave a comment below, and a huge thank you to theNewBee for appearing on this list.
Thank you Demented Pictures for having me. It was awesome revisiting some of my favorite movies, and you even introduced me to a couple of new ones. Let me throw one in here. Terrifier. Clowns with knives. Enough said. Not the first killer clown by any means, but he certainly is one of the most violent and sadistic murderers captured on screen. Art the Clown is like a force of nature that will just kill you for no reason. Terrifier's sheer brutality is sure to disturb the most jaded horror fan. And remember, when sawing your victim in half at the crotch, saw front to back. You don't want to give your victim a UTI. I'll have links in the description if you want more of this magic. This is theNewBee. Thanks for watching. Toodles.
Be sure to check out some other top 10s on screen now. And remember, no list is definitive but the one you make yourself. This is Mike from Demented Pictures saying, may your movies be bloody and your scares be shitless.